Okay, I'm getting ready to mount back the Aristona into the cabinet. Now, the reason why I put the cabinet on its front side is that it makes it a little bit easier for me to mount the speaker. So let's just take the speaker and have a look if we can manage to mount it that way. So let's see if I move. You see, that's the problem with chassis where the speaker is hardwired to the chassis. Generally, they keep the wires short because obviously you can't have wires in a appliance which gets very hot from all sorts of power resistors and electronic tubes. Yeah, you can't have those wires flop around and risk them being melted. Okay, so as you can see, the wires are unfortunately too short to reach. So what I'm going to do is prop up the cabinet a little bit and see if we can make the speaker reach better. Okay, so hang on. Okay, I propped it up a little bit. So now let's put the chassis a bit closer. That isn't easy either, but no, propping up doesn't work. I made an inventory of all the screws I might ever need to attach the insides. So these two plates and these two short screws are to attach the speaker to the front of the cabinet. These long screws are necessary to attach the chassis to the cabinet, and this short screw is necessary to attach this contact, which ultimately will be mounted up there inside the radio to the stud you see over there. So that one here, yeah, that is where that little contact will be mounted, and it will press down on a piece of aluminized paper or metallized paper, which will run from about halfway the cabinet, about here, so at the height of the chassis, all the way up and around to about halfway the roof of the cabinet. I suppose it's meant to be a kind of shielding, to shield off the FM part of the radio, which is fine. I mean, if the engineers from Philips thought it would do good to have it placed there, well, then who am I to dispute their technical meaning or their technical knowledge to say that it isn't good. I'm not so sure it will do a lot of good, but well, I guess when you're working with high frequency stuff, having the right kind of shielding around it is not a bad idea. Okay, so now how am I going to mount the bloody chassis inside this cabinet? Because the thing that's really bothering me right now is the speaker. Okay, well, let's set up the camera at the right angle so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so well, let me see. First of all, let's put away all the parts we don't need for the moment. And then, well, the first thing I'm going to mount is that shielding clip. Yeah, so I'm going to mount the shielding clip you see here to the roof of the cabinet. Yeah, so let's try. Okay, well, okay, so the screw is a flathead, needs a flathead screwdriver. So okay, I'm going to take just that, and there you go. So now let me see. I prolonged the wire quite a bit because I learned by experience with restoring the Philips BX230U, who had the same kind of setup, that the wire that was installed was way too short. So I elected to extend the wire by about 10 inches, which is more than enough should I ever want to service this radio. Technically speaking, I could do the same with the speaker leads, but there's one problem with that. The speaker leads are situated very close to parts that get really hot, and if I extend those wires, there is a risk that the wires will touch a hot part. Yeah, and that's certainly not a good idea. Okay, so here we go. I hope you can see what I'm doing. And I know there's not too much light, but I think you can see just enough of what I'm doing. Okay, so there we go. Okay, no need to use too much force when you attach the clamp up there, and in any case I will have to I will have to disassemble the radio, or rather I will have to take out the chassis pretty soon, because I still need, as you can tell for yourselves, I still need to stick into the radio up here and along the side a new piece of aluminized paper, and I ordered some, but it still hasn't arrived, so it will take a little bit of time before I can do something about that. Okay, so hang on, let's see if I can put a little bit more light, shine a little bit more light, so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, that's reasonable. Okay, so here we go. Before I can mount the chassis inside the cabinet, you need to do one small thing. Well, if you would ever have to service this kind of radio, you need to put back this rotary part of the tone switch, and the same part for the channel switch or the frequency switch here. You have to do this first before you mount the chassis, because these are too big to be slid in afterwards. Okay, and you should also mount the dial needle or the dial pointer after you mount the chassis inside the cabinet. So I'm keeping that part on the side for later. Okay, so now let me put back the camera so you can have a nice view of what I'm doing. So there you go. Okay, so now slowly I'm going to slide in the whole assembly. I mean by that the whole chassis and the speaker at the same time. Okay, so here we go. I have to be careful and not to damage any parts, so hang on, I need to have a look if there are no parts in the way that could be damaged or make a false contact somewhere. Okay, I think we're good to go. Okay, here we go. Okay, now if I remember correctly, the wires were installed in the downward position. Okay, okay, there you go. So that's the speaker. Okay, hang on. I know my arm is in the way, but just bear with me. Okay, hang on. Okay, so you need to attach the little piece like this. This is the clamp that's going to clamp down on the speaker. Yeah. So, and since you mount this piece on a raised little mount, yeah, you need to mount it like this. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to attach the mount first. One here, like this. And yeah, I think you can see it, it's still sharp. And then I'm going to mount one on the opposite side, so one down here. Okay, I'm not going to tighten down the screws too much yet, because I still need to be able to move the clamps a little bit if necessary. So, okay, now I put the wire out of the way. Okay, here we go. So, we put in the speaker like this. Okay, that's one. That's two. Okay, so there you go. Now all we need to do is tighten the clamps. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Okay, I need a longer screwdriver because it's a bit tight in the inside. Yeah, I was afraid of this. There's very, very little space to work with. Okay, hang on. The clamp is not straight. Now it is. Okay. There you go. Okay, if the clamps are not too tight yet, that isn't a problem. I can still tighten them a little bit more if necessary later on. So, oh yeah, by the way, if you remember, the supports that are built onto the chassis, you know, these little supports here that go into the rail, I didn't find any tubing that would do. So I fabricated these little struts myself, these little rubber struts myself. It's actually not rubber, but it's a kind of tape, electrical tape, which I split down the middle, and I wound, or let's say 10 or 12 times around the little rail stud, which is here. And I think that will do, you know. So, and anyway, if I can find any kind of rubber later on that would do the trick, then I can still take this off, peel this off, or cut this off and then replace it. So, but for the moment it will do. Okay, so now sliding in the chassis. That will be a little bit harder. Let's see, because I have to be careful not to damage anything, and I have to see what I'm doing, which is not so simple. Okay. I think this is good. Now, yes, I think the chassis is in place. Okay, now we need to attach the... Okay, so I placed the cabinet and, well, actually the whole radio on little struts to support it, so that I can work safely on the cabinet and at the same time show you a better view of what I'm doing. Okay, so let me see. Well, I don't know if you can see this, but hang on, I need to rotate the radio a little bit. There you go. And down here. Okay, so down here where I'm pointing, this is one of the points where I'll need to attach the chassis to that strut below it. And on the other side, look over there, you have exactly the same attachment point here. Yeah? So I need to attach the chassis to that strut over there. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit tight in there, but well, since I'm pointing in that direction, let's just start over there and see if we can attach the chassis. Now, let me see. I need to align the chassis a little bit with, and I'm going to use my tweezers, my special tweezers, to do this because my fingers are a bit fat, and well, this is a tiny radio, so hang on. Here we go. There you go. Now we put the screwdriver over it. Hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on. Yeah. Oh dear. This is not so simple. No, the screw isn't sliding into its opening, so that's really not a good thing. Okay, hang on. Also, the chassis is not well aligned, so let's see if I can align it a little bit better. I think that should do the trick. Yeah. Okay, oh. Damn it. It's not so easy, you know, the space is really tight. I just wanted to show you at least one tightening, which isn't so easy. Come on. Okay, now I need a screwdriver. Where is my little screwdriver? You know, one of the very first things I will want in the coming year is a little bit bigger working space, because right now I really have to do with a very tight little space to work with, you know. So, and that's not always so comfortable. Okay, here we go. There you go. Come on. Make contact. Yep. There you go. Okie dokie. Okay, for anyone interested, these screws that are used to attach the chassis to the cabinet are European style screws of M4, which means it's 4 mil diameter screws. Yeah, okay, so these screws are 4 mil diameter, just so you know, and they are, if I'm not mistaken, 12 mil long. I finally mounted the chassis, or rather I attached the chassis to the cabinet. I think you can see it. There's a screw here, yeah, and there's a screw over there. So that's nice, that's perfect. So the next thing I need to do is to align the dial light, which you see here, this one. I need to align the light bulb with the hole in the shade. So to do that, I need to, I don't know if it's sharp, the picture, but I hope it is. Okay, let's see. No, I think it's sharp. Okay, so what I need to do is to swivel this assembly until the light bulb is straight in the middle of the shade, the hole in the shade. So I think this is about right. So now I tighten the screw down. Come on. Yep. There you go. So now the light bulb is... I still need to mount back the cover of the radio, which is exactly what I'm going to do now. So what I need to do is I need to slide this cover like this. Yeah, and behind this. But hang on, I also need to put the AC wire in its correct position. So hang on. Okay. So the AC wire has to go through a slot in the cover up here. You know? So there's a slot there. Okay. And then there's another interesting little feature, which is this wire. Now, at first, I had no clue what this wire could be for, but I'll show you in a moment, and I'll give you my idea of what it could possibly be. Okay, and so there you go. Now, I need to attach a screw here and one over there, exactly the same one here, to attach the cover, the masonite cover, to the cabinet. And I need two special little screws for that. And I also need two washers to put over them. Okay, there are the washers. Because you see, if I would use the screws on the naked masonite, I will eventually damage the masonite, and since masonite is already not very strong material, I'd rather avoid messing it up. Yeah, so I'm using a washer, as you can see, and a screw, as you can see. So here we go, the first one. Now I need to align it with the hole. There you go. Okay, I don't need to tighten it immediately. And then I align it with the other hole, which is over there. Come on. Come on. Yes, there we go. Okie dokie. So, now the two screws are set. No need to exaggerate with putting pressure on them. They have to be firmly attached, but not so much that they would damage the masonite. Okay, so now that is done. Now, what you need to see is this. Okay, I'm going to attach the back in a moment, but what I wanted to show you is this. So you can see a little wire over there, yeah? And you can see these little studs on the back of the masonite. You see one here, and you see one here. Now, this wire, which you see here, rolls over these studs. Okay, hang on, I'm going to take off the rubber I used to keep it together. Okay, there we go. So what you can do is you can wind this wire like this. Damn, there's a nut in it. Okay, hang on. Knots are no fun at all. Okay, here we go. So, as I was saying, you can wind that little piece of rope around these studs, like I'm showing you right now. And the idea, I think, is that behind this wire you can coil up the electrical wire that is in surplus. So if you need only 2 feet of wire to connect up the radio to the AC, then you can roll up the other 4 feet and clamp them to the cabinet's back with the help of this little cord. It's a nice little detail. I suppose Philips came up with it because they noticed that people were starting to tie actually knots in the electrical wire, which is frankly not such a good idea. So I think that was just a pragmatic solution for that problem, which Philips invented. Yeah. So it's a nice little curiosity, but nothing more than that. Still, it is vintage, so that makes it a nice little detail. Now, let me see whether I can fix that. So normally the screws that go into the attachment holes up here, yeah, are, if I'm not mistaken, 2mm screws, and I have one of the original ones. Let me see, where is it? Hang on. Ah, here it is. So, originally they used these screws. So, flathead screws like these. Yeah. However, these types of screws are very rare. Yeah, you can almost never find them. However, if you want to replace those screws, there is a valid alternative, and that is an M2 flathead screw. Well, actually it's not exactly a flathead, it's more of an oblique head, yeah, like this, a tapered head, I think you would call it. And this is 2mm, yeah, 2mm diameter and 16mm length. Obviously a bit too long, yeah. Half of it would have done just as well, but these were the only ones I could get in the shop. So now let's see if they would work as well. I'm not sure, but we can give it a try. And yes, it works. Okay, they are a bit too long, but never mind that. the idea is, of course, that I can attach the back of the radio with it. All I need is a washer. And now I'm ready to put on the knobs. And one small detail you should notice is that there is a piece of felt at the back of each of the knobs. Yeah. So to protect the plastic of the dial panel. Okay, so you slide these on, you know, they grip into each other, and you see that the shaft is rather well centered. You know, I can show you the same thing here. So the shafts, contrary to the Phillips, are much better centered than the Phillips. So when they produced the Aristona, they certainly paid a little bit better attention to finishing. Okay, so these grip inside the ones you see here. So we place them like this. Okay, so and then you can switch bands like this. Okay, and it's the same thing with the tone knob. So, okay, it's not as good as the band switch, but hey, okay, well, that's the way they made it. So okay, so like this. Okay, fine. Okay, so then on the covering buttons you also put these little pieces of felt like this. And you need tiny little screws like this to screw them on to the shafts of the buttons. Yeah, there are tiny little holes there, so the screws fit into those holes. Well, the Aristona is finished, and I'm pretty pleased with the result, and I hope all of you will agree with me that the radio looks really nice. I suppose it might still be improved upon, but all things considered, I think it's pretty nice the way it is. And I'm sure if you watch the videos from the beginning, before the radio was restored, then I'm sure you'll agree that it now looks well, pretty nice. So well, let's have a go at switching it on. Why don't we? Because I'm sure you're all curious to hear how it plays. Now, mind you, I can't stay on one specific radio transmitter, because all those greedy music companies keep harassing me with all their claims about playing this music and that music. So yeah, I have to cut short any music that you hear playing. But I'll give you just a small taste of how the radio sounds, okay? So, here we go.
The Andrew Lansley changes.
Newspapers now, though, don't we, that the Prime Minister didn't even understand them, even though he went ahead and imposed them on the NHS despite all the warning.
Do you think that's true?
Well, I think so, because they were fiendishly complicated. I think the fact was that Andrew Lansley was the only one who understood.
The reason why you see the light source flickering is because the shutter speed of the camera is a bit too slow, and so that's why you see the light flicker. Now you might also say, hey, but the light looks blue, and well, yes, it is blue. I thought, you know, as a sort of a personal touch, I would use an LED light bulb instead of a classical filament lamp. Yeah, you know, it's cooler, it doesn't heat up as much, it uses a little bit less current, and, well, let's say it's my only concession to modernity. Yeah. After all, this radio was restored in the 21st century. So I thought I would add that. Just as a touch. But I would welcome your comments on that. So if you think it's sacrilegious to have LED lighting in the radio, or if you think I should do more of this kind of thing, then please let me know, because I'm really curious about your opinions. Okay, so well, yeah, I cleaned the knobs too. And they're nice and shiny now. Also, the radio has still a bit of a buzz, but I think the buzz originates from a bad hang on. The buzz which you hear in the speaker originates from I think, a bad AC rectifier tube. You know, I think the rectifier tube is spent. So I ordered a new rectifier tube for the radio, and with a little bit of luck, in the next couple of weeks I should be getting it. Okay, so I'm on the FM band. The radio can play very loud if I wish to. So it has plenty of power, yeah. It has plenty of I would say amplification power. So which is nice. Okay, so let's go on the AM band. Well, as you know, AM in my country is not really, well, a popular band for radio stations. So, let's see. Also, AM is very influenced by reception of all sorts of signals, especially from all sorts of appliances, you know. So, well, those greedy music companies did it again, and they sort of forced me to throw away the original end video I had made for the Aristona series. But really, there's always a silver lining with that kind of situation. And I noticed that in the video I had to throw away, well, or I elected to throw away because I really didn't feel in the mood to argue with some stupid, greedy music company. I had forgotten to install the little shield, the little logo shield on the radio, and here it is. So actually, it turns out rather well. The radio is now truly and well complete. It looks like it always should have looked in its authentic form. And I must say the result is not too bad. If you compare the radio with how with what it looked like when I first got it, you know, with the white paint and the dirt and all, well, the result is pretty good. So, well, why did I have to throw away the previous video? Well, I was apparently playing some Bollywood song, which I didn't even know. And, well, you know, I thought I still owe you at least a few seconds of the radio playing with something, so that you get a final farewell video of the Aristona. Because, well, this is the end of the Aristona series. The radio is restored in its original shape, let's say, or state. And okay, granted, when it looked brand new coming out of the factory, it might have looked even better. Well, probably it did look a lot better. But all in all, considering the state it was in, I think this result is marvelous. I love it. So let's cut the chat. Let's get the chatter and let's get it playing, shall we? So here we go. It's on the AM band, so technically speaking, I could get some non-licensed sounds from some radio station or other. So, here we go. I'm still impressed at the volume I can get out of this radio. I mean, the amplification stage of the radio is really powerful. Okay, that's a German station.
On a déjà une partie de nos équipes qui nous ont quittés, qui sont plus sur la haute saison, mais justement, avec tout le reste, on a mis tout le monde sur le terrain pour qu'on puisse accueillir dans de bonnes conditions nos clients.
Cet effet météo, il va commencer quand
By the way, if you hear a very sharp chirping noise when something is playing on the radio, that is distortion from the microphone, from the camera's microphone. So it's not the radio, it's the microphone of the camera which is being overloaded. Okay, so well, the AM band is really misery where I live. I mean, there aren't too many AM.
But you know what? My Derbyshire got 2 goals the last time we appeared against Leeds. We'll settle for that tonight.
And then Rotherham fans and the management there still pinching themselves how far you've come in the last few years as a football club.
Yeah, I think every week when you look at the potential opposition and you look at who you're facing, the quality of player, perhaps even dare say the quality of the manager who's next to you in the technical area. But it's a great experience. It's a competition or a league that I think that's
On le sait, il y a des statistiques qui sont menées par nous, que ce soit par Météo France ou des analyses qui sont faites plus à l'échelle mondiale. Et c'est vrai que ce mois d'octobre est particulièrement jugé comme une tendance.
20 ans de carrière de Pascal
Unfortunately, the radio is very, very sensitive for all sorts of interference from electrical appliances. And since I live quite close to other neighbors, well, you know, you really can't tell what sort of appliances are working in their place, in their homes. So, well, you know, that's what you're hearing. You're hearing all sorts of chirping and chatter from other appliances. So let's try a long wave.
Qui en fait le sosie de Colombo. Tout le monde lui demande des nouvelles de sa femme. Ses cheveux, eux, sont en friche. On dirait la campagne angevine avant le remembrement. Il doit toucher des aides de la PAC. Et pour les cacher, alors le comble, il se cale désormais sur la tête, cet espace à ridule, une casquette déchirée de punk à chien. Oui. Quand il est devant le Franprix, les gens lui glissent 1 euro. Il y a toujours une dame pour dire à son mari, ne donne pas avec, il va acheter à boire.
Okay, that's a French transmitter.
Des endoctrines, ils font ça dans 2 jours sans psychologue et sans personne parce qu'une fois qu'elles ont vu justement à quel point les Syriens sont aussi massacrés, elles veulent rentrer. Je vous rappelle qu'elles
That's another French transmitter.
Et qu'on les aura et qu'on va les récupérer, surtout brillantes et gentilles comme elles étaient. Première chose. Deuxièmement, les garçons, ceux qui sont partis combattre, qui sont combattus, là c'est très compliqué parce qu'ils ont un rythme initiatique de tous les terroristes qui avaient aussi les brigades rouges, c'est qu'ils se débrouillent pour que les garçons se salissent les mains dès les premiers jours pour les tester, donc on leur demande de tenir une tête pendant que les suffit, hein, de façon à franchir les limites
Well, that's it. This is the end of the Aristona SA1020U restoration series. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I would say stay tuned for other series to come quite soon.